Okay. Very secure. Been locked out of the machine. Okay, so here I've got my Hotmail account, and I'm innocently, logging on the first time of the day, and I'm going to go and say, Woodgrove Bank or Contoso Bank. Never heard of them before. Well, let's go out and see what Contoso Bank wants me to do with them. They want me to update my records. Now, what I saw here is Hotmail throwing a warning. And this is actually a nice place to mention that Microsoft is actually collaborating across the company to try and protect users against phishing. So the warning here you're seeing from Hotmail represents that. But I'm going to continue and go ahead to the site. And here, you didn't even get to see the site load. What happened is that IE actually did load the page, has heuristics inside of it that inspected the HTML, saw that there was potentially misleading things going on in the HTML, and then navigated the user away after checking a web server to see that this is, in fact, a dangerous site. So this is a really important protection for users who are getting attacked by these emails today, because right now, it's really hard for them to make good decisions. This makes it pretty clear and pretty easy for the user about what's going on. So let's go ahead and say, I'm just going to close this page. Let's go back to my mail. So, obviously, if we've got a web server that is trying to keep a record of all the different websites that people are reporting as phishing sites, it's simply not going to be able to keep up with that complete list of phishing sites because they'll move around. But one of the things I want to show you is that here, when I go to a site that, hey, it's trying to steal my information, even if this site hasn't been reported as a phishing site, the heuristics kick in and the user's warned. And this is a big deal because what that means is that now the user can actually fight back. So here, I'm going to go ahead and try to report this site as a phishing site and go to this Microsoft site, and there's a team of folks who will look at the incoming reports, and that's one of the ways that the server will get populated with the list of phishing sites. So here you can see how the community can work together to provide feedback and help protect folks in the community from these phishing attacks. That's a really big difference. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to IE6 really quick to show one of the things that so I want to show one of the things that a phishing attack could look like. So here I am on IE6, and I've got an IP address, and I've got no HTTPS, and this is a perfectly legitimate site as far as IE6 is concerned. And another thing that sites do is they'll throw these authentication prompts that don't have an address bar to them at all. Or maybe imagine that this one has a fake JPEG address bar across the top. So in IE6, you see how that's something that a bad guy could try to impersonate a good site. Now if I do the same thing with IE7, there's an address bar at the top of every window that indicates the origin of the site. So the user has an indication of where that site came from. So there's nothing the site can do to trick the user about where it came from. And that's a really big important difference. And you can see here, this is the little status indicator that we're out getting the website information. Of course, as part of the demo, this is going to take longer than it should, so I'm just going to close it down. But I can tell you that when the service responds here, what it would show you is that even this smaller page was marked as a potentially suspicious site because it was trying to collect user credentials over an IP address without SSL and from a pop-up window. So let's see here. Well, what about my good site? What's going to happen if I've got What's going to happen if I've got a real SSL site and I want to collect the user's credentials? Well, with a real SSL site that's trying to collect the user's credentials, the good news is that we've made improvements so that users know that they're on a real SSL site. And this isn't the final user experience. But what you can see here is that we've taken the lock icon, we've moved it up to the address bar, and we're drawing more attention to it. The other thing we've done is we've taken some of the important information out of the certificate. Instead of making users get up to speed on cryptography, we've added that important information in some very prominent UI. Okay, so now this is the last thing I'm going to show as a part of this demonstration. I want to show well, what happens, you know, let's say that I went to this Woodgrove Bank site and they keep telling me, hey, you know what, just lower your security slider because you're not going to be able to log in otherwise. You know what, you need to use cookies on our site, so why don't you lower your security slider? There are actually lots of sites that do need users to lower their security slider for, you know, legitimate purposes. Like my line of business application isn't working, so I want to make a change to my security settings. Okay. So the first thing you notice when you go to security options here in the Internet Options control panel is that the Internet Zone doesn't have a low anymore or a medium low. The Internet Zone is actually now set to medium high, and that's going to represent a couple of new security features that we're going to talk about later on. But more importantly, well, let's say I go in here. Let's take a poll of the audience. Unsigned ActiveX controls, should I install them? Yes? No? ActiveX controls and plugins. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and say not marked as safe. Sure. Oh, when I clicked that, when the user was convinced to make that change, we immediately warned them by drawing right around that. So download unsigned ActiveX controls. Sure, why not? Well, sounds good to me. So I use warn me already. Now you can see, even though I've made this change, right, I was able to do it. That's OK. But I'm going to have this consistent warning. I have it in the Internet Options dialog. I have it with a gold bar. And it's OK for me to dismiss this. It's OK for me to continue browsing if I want to. But one of the things that's really important is we got to make sure that this user who's made this change remains informed about the decision that they made so that they don't get spyware installed in their system, so that they don't have their information stolen by a malicious site. So you can see how we're going to be really consistent about warning the user about what's going on here. So this is a really big improvement. If anybody's cleaned spyware off of their parents' systems or their friends' systems, like, this deserves a round of applause here, right? OK. So is that a golf clap? I know we're all low blood sugar, but come on. OK, so let's see here. Yeah, right here. All right, so we just talked about the changes we're making to the user interface to make it safer. This is a really big change from previous versions where in the past, you know, we said, hey, if the user makes a bad decision about their settings or about the sites they go to, you know, all bets are off. Now we're saying, hey, we're going to try and help the user by improving the UI. So when you're building your application, you should start thinking about those same principles. Be aware of the threats and also help the user make better decisions.